The large lecture hall at Harvard University was filled with bright lights and buzzing excitement. Students sat in rows, chatting and smiling, waiting for the guest lecture to begin. Some had traveled from other cities just to attend. The topic was the future of human AI and alien relations, and the speaker was one of the most famous minds in the field, Professor Greven, tall, sharp-faced, and always dressed in a dark suit. Professor Greven was known not just for his knowledge, but also for his sharp tongue. He loved to challenge others, especially those who dared to question his ideas. Some students admired him. Others feared being the next one he mocked. As the professor entered the hall, everyone clapped. He raised one hand, smiled slightly, and walked to the center. "Good morning," he said. "Today, we speak not only of science but of the future. A future where humans must prove they are more than just emotional beings. We must be logical, powerful, ruthless if needed." There were nods around the room. Many students were recording his talk. At the front row sat an old woman. Her name was Mina. She looked quiet and small, with white hair tied back neatly. Her hands were folded on her lap, and her eyes calmly watched everything. No one knew why. She was there. She had no ID badge like the others. She wasn't a professor. She wasn't even on the guest list. Professor Greven glanced at her and smiled, but it wasn't a kind smile. "I see we have a special guest today," he said, raising his eyebrows. "Madam, would you like to say something about how the world used to be? Maybe about radios, paper maps, or the old Earth government?" The room laughed. Some students looked uncomfortable. Others looked curious. Mina simply smiled back, unbothered. "If you wish," she said softly. Her voice was calm, but everyone could hear it clearly. Professor Greven stepped back. "Please enlighten us." Mina slowly stood up. She didn't shake. She didn't look nervous. Her posture was straight, and her gaze steady. She looked around the room, taking in the faces of the students, the professor, and even a group of alien guests who sat silently in the back. They were here to observe Earth's learning systems. One of them, a tall reptilian creature with blue scales and gold markings, blinked slowly as he watched Mina. Then she spoke. "Let me ask you all a question," Mina said. "What is the most advanced force in the universe?" Hands went up. The professor nodded at one student. "Technology," the student answered. "Especially quantum AI." Another student added, "Warships. Weapons strong enough to destroy." "Planets," Mina smiled kindly. "Good guesses," she said. But no, someone from the alien group made a soft clicking noise. It was their way of showing curiosity. Mina paused, then said, "The most advanced force is understanding." Some students looked confused. Professor Greven raised an eyebrow. "Understanding?" He repeated. "Are we in a poetry class now?" More laughter. But Mina didn't react. "Yes," she said. "Understanding others, not just their language or logic, but their pain, their fear, their needs. It is the one thing that even the strongest computers cannot truly feel. And it is what saved humanity once." "Saved?" the professor said, folding his arms. "From what?" "We've only grown stronger." Mina looked directly at him. "You are strong, Professor. But strength without understanding is like a ship with no light. It moves but doesn't know where it's going." For a moment, the hall was quiet. Then the professor chuckled and waved his hand, very poetic. "I thank you for your words. Now let us return to science." But in the back of the room, a young student named Rami was no longer looking at the professor. He was staring at Mina with wide eyes. He had seen her face before, not in the news, not in a book, but in a classified digital file he had once found while doing research for his thesis. Her name wasn't just Mina. It was Dr. Mina Orlin, the woman credited in secret records with creating the first peace code that stopped an interstellar war. Before it even began, he opened his tablet, his fingers moving fast. He had saved the file under deep encryption. He didn't expect to use it. But now, seeing her, the quiet woman being mocked, he had to be sure, and there it was. A picture of Mina, much younger, standing beside leaders from Earth, Mars, and the alien species known as the Zorak Unity. The file was marked Top Secret, Project Mina. Ramey's hands trembled. He looked up again. In front of the room, Professor Grieven had returned to his lecture. Mina had quietly sat back down, as if her words were nothing special. But Ramey now knew the truth. This woman had not just been a part of history. She was history. And tomorrow, the entire university would know. The lecture continued, but the energy in the room had changed. Some students still took notes. Others watched Mina silently. The aliens in the back seemed more alert now, their eyes focused only on the old woman. Professor Grieven, however, looked pleased with himself. He had taken back control of the room. His voice was strong again as he spoke about the future of human logic, faster-than-light trade routes, and how Earth's strategy had shifted toward calculated power. Ramey didn't hear a word of it. His hands trembled slightly as he stared at his tablet. The secret file on Mina was still open. His eyes ran over the lines again. Dr. Mina Orlin, former lead of Earth-Zorak Peace Directive. First civilian to decode the Zorak's mathematical language. Negotiated ceasefire within 37 hours. Prevented total loss of human colonies in Sector 8. He looked up. Mina sat still, her hands resting peacefully in her lap. To anyone else, she was just a kind old woman. But Ramey knew better now. He leaned over and whispered to his friend Lena, "That woman. She's the reason Earth is still standing." Lena blinked. "What?" "I'll show you after the lecture," Ramey said. "Just watch her." Professor Grieven walked across the stage again. "Now we speak of the Zorak species," he said. "A strong race. Cold, logical. They respect strength, not softness. If Earth had been weak, they would have taken our outer colonies in less than a month. What stopped them? Our weapons. Our ships, our calculations." Mina suddenly raised her hand. The professor stopped mid-sentence. "Yes?" he asked, his voice polite but sharp. "If I may add," Mina said softly, "you are partly right." The room went quiet again. Professor Grieven raised an eyebrow. "Partly? Yes," she said. "The Zorak are logical. But you forget, they are also deeply mathematical. They don't fear power. They fear unpredictability. Emotion scares them more than warships." A few students leaned forward. The reptilian alien in the back made a low, thoughtful sound. Another alien, smaller and red-skinned, tapped his device, clearly recording. Professor Grieven tilted his head. "Are you saying they fear ... feelings?" "I am saying," Mina replied, "that emotion, when controlled and understood, is more complex than any machine. It is the one thing the Zorak cannot solve. They study us, not because we are strong, but because we are strange to them. Our empathy, our ability to forgive, our madness for peace ... That is what made them stop." More students looked at each other. Some nodded. Some looked confused. Ramey looked thrilled. He whispered to himself, "She's teaching again." Professor Grieven gave a short laugh. "You speak in riddles, madam, but wars are not won by hugs." "No," Mina said, "but they are ended by listening." The alien ambassador suddenly stood. He was tall, his head brushing the ceiling lights. His blue and gold scales shimmered. Everyone turned toward him in surprise. He walked slowly down the steps, one clawed hand holding a translator orb. In a deep voice, the ambassador spoke through the device. "She speaks truth." The professor froze. "I am of the Zorak species," the ambassador said. "We studied your kind for years. We believed humans were unstable, dangerous, but then one among you showed us otherwise." He looked at Mina. She did not speak with power. She spoke with puzzles. She spoke in our numbers, but she also showed emotion, not weakness. Controlled emotion. She confused our systems. She showed us an idea we never considered. What idea? One student asked softly. That peace, the alien said, is not surrender. It is a choice. Gasps ran through the hall. Mina lowered her eyes humbly. Professor Grieven stood still, speechless. The alien ambassador turned to him. You say, we feared your strength. That is incorrect. We feared her understanding. She solved the Zorak logic trap that our own leaders could not break. She used it not to defeat us, but to teach us. The room was silent. Finally, Mina stood again. I was younger then, she said gently, and scared. But I believed something simple. If you truly want peace, you must speak the other's language, not just their words, but their hearts. She looked around the hall. You are all the future. You will build what comes next. But never forget, the greatest weapon humans carry is not in steel or fire. It is in the heart that dares to understand the unknown. Students began to clap. At first it was slow, unsure. Then louder. Even some of the aliens joined, tapping their tools or nodding their heads. Professor Grieven tried to smile, but his face had lost its shine. For once, he had nothing clever to say. Remy stood, holding up his tablet. This woman is Dr. Mina Orlin, he said, the one who stopped the war before it began. We all studied the peace, but we never knew the name. Now they did, and it echoed across the halls of Harvard, from students to visitors to aliens from distant stars. After the lecture ended, the hall remained silent for a moment. Then whispers spread like wind. Some students rushed forward to speak with Mina. Others quietly searched her name on their tablets. Even the aliens stayed behind, speaking softly. In their own languages. Mina stood up slowly. She nodded politely to those who thanked her, but she looked tired. Her soft smile never faded, but it was clear she hadn't come for fame or attention. She simply walked toward the exit, as if the lecture had meant nothing. But for Remy, it had changed everything. He followed Mina into the hallway. Ma'am, wait please. Mina turned and looked at him kindly. Yes, dear? You single quotes read to Mina Orlin, right? The peace code? The Zorak agreement? Mina looked at him for a moment, then gave a soft nod. I was part of it, yes. Though many were involved, I was just the first to listen closely enough. You saved millions, Remy said, eyes wide. Why did you hide it? Why didn't you tell anyone here? I didn't come to talk about the past, she said. I came to see the future. Remy couldn't speak. His heart was beating fast. Then he remembered something. Can I show you something? He asked. Please, it's important. She agreed. Remy led her to a quiet study room on the upper floor. It was empty, with long wooden tables, bookshelves, and soft lights. He pulled out his tablet and opened a locked file. A blue screen appeared, and he entered his code. The file name read, Project Mina Classified Archive Copy. Mina looked at it without surprise. This was hidden in the old Earth Peace database, Remy explained. I was researching Zorak communication patterns. This file wasn't supposed to be accessible, but I used a deep language scan. When I found your name, I couldn't believe it. I saved it, but never knew if it was real. He showed her the contents. Photos of young Mina standing beside alien leaders, a hand-drawn math code titled, Emotion in Numeric Balance, logs from Zorak translators, admitting defeat in logic debates, a note from Earth Council saying, without Mina, we would have lost Sector 8. Mina studied the screen quietly. Her face was calm, but her eyes were distant. I didn't want this remembered for glory, she said softly. It was never about victory. It was about survival and respect. But this should be public. Remy said, you could inspire millions. Everyone thinks power means strength. But you prove that listening and thinking deeply can save more lives than any weapon. Mina gently placed a hand on the table. The galaxy remembers things differently. Some aliens fear stories of peace. They call it weakness. So Earth hid my name to protect the truth. But times are changing now. Just then, Lena entered the room. She looked shocked. "Rami, you were right. I just got confirmation from the school archive bot. Her ID was flagged years ago but left untouched because of diplomatic clearance." She looked at Mina with respect. "You're a legend." Mina gave a small laugh. "No, child, I'm just old." Meanwhile, in the main hall, Professor Grieven sat alone. He stared at his notes, then at the empty chairs. He didn't like being wrong. But this time, he wasn't just wrong. He had made a fool of himself in front of his students, guests, and even alien ambassadors. He opened his own tablet. With slow fingers, he typed Mina's name. The results were minimal: some reports, a few grainy photos, and one hidden tag from an old academic journal. Civilian. Advisor. Peace model simulation. Successful outcome under Mina Orlin. His jaw tightened. Grieven had always believed in control, order, and intelligence. But Mina had used something different. Something deeper. He stood up, adjusted his coat, and walked out. Back in the study room, Rami had an idea. Mina. Would you be willing to speak again, maybe to more students? I know people who can record your sessions. If we shared your story, we could change how people think, not just here, but across the colonies. Mina hesitated. "I've spent years hiding in small places," she said. "Teaching quietly, writing quietly, watching Earth grow. It was peaceful, but now they need you again," Rami said. "Not for war, for wisdom." Mina looked at the glowing screen. Her old notes. Her young face. Her soft words stored in a file forgotten by time. Then she smiled. "All right," she said. "But I will speak only if you promise to listen, truly listen." Rami nodded. Lena smiled. "Then we begin tomorrow," Mina said. Later that evening, news spread through the digital university boards. A message from the alien ambassador had been sent to the central system. "Today, we met the flame of peace. She still burns bright." By morning, hundreds of students had signed up to attend Mina's first open session. Alien students joined the list too. Some even came from space stations orbiting Earth, and far away, in an underground archive beneath the Earth Council's tower, an old record was updated. Project Mina, status, active again. The next morning, the main hall at Harvard was packed again, only this time, it wasn't for Professor Grieven. It was for Mina. Students filled every seat. Some sat on the steps. Others stood against the walls. Even faculty members were present. A few aliens had returned too, including the tall Zorak ambassador. Reporters from educational channels quietly set up cameras in the back. The air was full of curiosity. At the front, Mina sat calmly in a chair. She wore the same simple clothes as before. No lab coat, no badges. Just quiet dignity. Next to her stood Rami and Lena. They were helping her set up a simple screen to show her notes. Unlike Professor Grieven's high-tech slides and simulations, Mina used just a few handwritten symbols and short phrases. At exactly 10 a.m., she looked at the room and gave a soft nod. "Good morning," she said. "Thank you for coming. I will speak slowly and simply. You may ask questions after." The room went completely quiet. Mina touched a small panel. A symbol appeared on the screen. It looked like a strange mix of numbers and curves. "This is a greeting," she said. "It comes from the Zorak language. It means peace through reason. It's not used often. Only during deep talks meant to change minds." She paused. "I first learned it when I was 22, she said. Back then, Earth had just made contact with the Zorak Unity. It wasn't a friendly meeting. Their ships appeared near our colonies without warning. Communication failed. Many were afraid. Some students nodded. They had read about this in history books, but only in small summaries. Mina continued. Everyone believed war would come. But I believed we could still talk. Not with our mouths, but with symbols. I studied their math, their rhythm, their silence. She changed the screen. Now it showed a sequence of repeating shapes. This is the code I used. It looks simple, but it says, "We will not trick you." We asked to share. A student in the front row raised his hand. How did you know they would understand that? I didn't, Mina said honestly, but I knew something else. Every intelligent being, no matter the planet, understands patterns. Patterns are the bridge. From patterns, we build language. From language, we build trust. A murmur of agreement passed through the room. Then Mina looked up and said, "The Zorak didn't respond right away. But they paused their ships. That pause saved millions." The room went still. She turned off the screen. "Sometimes silence means listening," Mina said. "The hardest part of peace is not what you say, it's knowing when not to speak." Suddenly, the Zorak ambassador stood. Everyone turned to look. He stepped forward and spoke through his translator orb. "She is correct," he said. "When she sent that pattern, our war council thought it was a trap, but the elders saw balance in it. It matched an ancient logic one our ancestors believed led to harmony." He bowed his head. We stopped our advance. We asked for a meeting. She came alone, with only a slate of numbers. She spoke with no fear. Gasps spread across the room. "You went alone?" A student asked. "Yes," Mina replied. "Because sometimes fear must be faced with peace, not weapons." Professor Grieven, who had quietly entered the hall and stood at the back, lowered his eyes. He listened, but didn't speak. Mina looked around the room again. "You have all learned science. Logic, technology, these are important. But never forget, this understanding is a power too. A quiet one, a deep one. One that can stop a war faster than any laser." A long silence followed. Then one by one, students began to clap. Slowly at first, then louder. Even some of the aliens tapped their feet or nodded. The sound grew until the entire hall was filled with applause. Mina gave a small smile and bowed her head slightly. Not proud, not loud, just grateful. After the session ended, students lined up to speak with her. Some asked about alien math. Others simply wanted to say thank you. Raime and Lena helped her through the crowd. Outside, the news had already spread. Headlines appeared on public boards. "Unknown woman turns out to be galaxy's hidden hero." Dr. Mina Orlin, the mind that made peace. Understanding, the new power of Earth. In a small corner of the university, Professor Grieven sat alone in his office. The lights were off. His screen showed recordings of Mina's session. He watched her speak, watched how the crowd listened, watched how even the aliens respected her. He sighed. Then he stood up, walked to his shelf, and pulled down a glass plaque. It had his name on it, top diplomatic lecturer, year 2093. He placed it in a drawer and closed it. That evening, Mina sat in a quiet garden behind the school. The stars were out, and soft lights glowed between the trees. Raime brought her tea. "You changed everything today," he said. "No," Mina replied, sipping gently. "I reminded them." "Reminded them of what?" "That being human," she said, "means more than just thinking fast or building big. It means feeling deeply, listening honestly, and choosing peace even when it's hard." Raime smiled. "I want to learn all of it. Not just the facts. I want to learn the way you think." Mina looked up at the stars. "Then you'll do fine." The next day, Harvard's campus felt different. Students moved with energy and purpose. Large screens around the university showed clips of Mina speaking. Articles called her the Flame of Peace. Her quiet strength had lit something in the hearts of many. Mina didn't walk like a celebrity. She walked slowly, carefully, like she always did. But now, wherever she went, people stopped to smile at her. Some bowed. Others simply placed a hand over their chest in silent respect, a new gesture that had started after Torvaka's speech, but Mina hadn't come for fame. She had one more lesson to share. At noon, she entered the main study hall. Hundreds of students waited, notebooks ready. Ramai and Lena stood beside her. This time, even Professor Grieven was there, sitting quietly in the front row. His expression was serious, not proud. Mina looked at the crowd, then took a breath and began. Yesterday, we talked about peace. Today, I want to talk about something deeper, the power behind peace. Some call it understanding, but I call it connection. She pointed at a large screen behind her. A symbol appeared, a circle with a small dot in the center. This is the Zorak symbol for shared center. It means that even different people, different species, can meet at one point if they are willing to listen. She walked slowly as she spoke. You may think power comes from control, from weapons, from speed, but real power, the kind that lasts, comes from your ability to connect. She pointed at the students. You are the future. You will travel to stars. You will meet species with different shapes, sounds, beliefs. Some will seem scary, others will seem strange. But you must remember, they are not puzzles to defeat. They are mirrors. Each one reflects something we forgot about ourselves. The room was silent. Mina continued. When I met the Zorak leaders, they were angry, cold. But when I listened, truly listened, I saw fear. Not fear of humans, fear of change. Fear of being understood too deeply. She smiled gently. That's something even we humans feel sometimes. She turned back to the crowd. Connection begins with three things: curiosity, patience, and respect. These are not weak ideas. They are strong. They demand control of your ego, your emotions, and your need to always be right. A student raised his hand. How do we connect with someone who doesn't want to listen? Mina nodded. You start small. You find what they care about. A pattern, a rhythm, a belief. You don't force your way in. You wait at the door and knock gently, again and again. One day they open it. Maybe only a little, but that is enough. There were quiet nods around the room. Lena stepped forward with a question. Do you think peace will last between Earth and the Zorak? Mina looked thoughtful. Peace is not a wall, she said. It's a bridge. And bridges must be checked, repaired, and walked often. But yes, I believe it will last. Because now we understand each other. Then she looked directly at Professor Grieven. For years, I've seen proud minds in this school. Brilliant minds. But sometimes brilliance forgets to look down, to see the roots. Grieven didn't look away. He listened. I once thought I had to hide what I knew, Mina said. Because the world only respected loud voices and shining titles. But I was wrong. The world is changing. And now, it is ready to hear soft voices too. Grieven slowly stood. Everyone watched. He walked toward the front. The room held its breath. Then, he spoke. I made a mistake, he said simply. I saw you as a guest, a quiet woman who belonged to the past. But now I know you are the future we were all waiting for. He turned to the students. If you truly wish to become leaders, do not just study numbers. Study people. Do not only build machines, build trust. Let this be your greatest subject, connection. Then he bowed to Mina, a deep, honest bow. Mina smiled. Thank you, Professor, she said softly. It takes courage to admit when we are still learning. The students clapped. This time, it was not just applause, it was agreement. They had understood. Over the next few days, a change began across Harvard and beyond. New courses were added: interspecies communication, emotional logic, and diplomatic patterns in alien cultures. The first guest teacher? Alien students from the Zorak Unity applied in record numbers. Mina's recorded lectures were translated into 6 languages and sent to learning stations, orbiting other worlds. Even the Earth Council took notice. A message was sent directly to Mina. Your quiet lessons have reshaped our future. We offer you the position of Peace Advisor if you will accept. Mina read the message, smiled, and replied, "Thank you. But I already accepted, the day I chose to speak again." That night, Remy sat with Mina under the stars. "Today was beautiful," he said. "They really listened." Mina nodded. "Yes, and now they must keep listening." "Will you stay here long?" he asked. Mina looked up at the sky. "No," she said. "I have more places to go, more voices to hear. But I will leave something behind." She handed Remy a small cube. Inside it was a program, her personal library of peace patterns, old conversations with alien leaders, and lessons never published. "This is yours now," she said. "Share it wisely." Remy held it carefully, understanding the responsibility it carried. "I won't let you down." "I know," Mina replied. Days passed since Mina's lectures and the speech by Torvak Sen. Harvard felt alive with new energy. Students talked about peace and connection as much as they talked about science and technology. The old ideas were shifting, and the future seemed brighter. One afternoon, Professor Grieven asked to meet Mina in a quiet room in the university's history wing. The walls were lined with portraits of famous scientists, diplomats, and explorers. It was a peaceful place, far from the noise of classrooms. Mina entered slowly. Grieven stood to greet her. His usual confident smile was softer, humble. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me," he said. Mina nodded. "I believe we both have things to say." Grieven looked down for a moment, then up again. "I owe you an apology," he began. "When I first saw you in that lecture hall, I was wrong to judge you by your age and quiet nature. I thought you were from the past, that your ideas were old and weak." He paused, "But I see now I was the one stuck in the past." Mina listened carefully. "You taught us all that strength is not just power. It is wisdom, patience, and the courage to admit when we are wrong." She smiled gently. "Thank you," she said. "It takes courage to apologize." They both laughed softly. After that meeting, Grieven became Mina's strongest supporter. He helped organize more talks, invited alien leaders to join discussions, and encouraged students to think beyond formulas and machines. Remy worked closely with Mina. Every day, they pored over ancient peace codes and new ideas. Lena joined them too, taking notes and asking questions. Together, they built a program to teach connection and diplomacy across the galaxy. The university named the program the Mina Initiative. Its goal was clear: to train future leaders who could think with both heart and mind. One afternoon, Mina received a message from the Earth Council. It was an invitation to speak at the Galactic Peace Summit, the largest meeting of all known species. Mina agreed. She prepared carefully, knowing this was her chance to spread the message even wider. On the day of the summit, the Grand Hall was filled with thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds. The atmosphere was tense, filled with hope and cautious. Trust. When Mina stepped onto the stage, the crowd fell silent. She began in her calm voice. "Peace is not a dream. It is a choice. A daily choice to understand, to forgive, and to build bridges where there were walls." She shared stories of Earth's darkest times and how listening had changed everything. She spoke of the Zorak warlords who had become allies, and of the new generation of students ready to carry the torch. At the end, the crowd erupted in applause. Some species even released soft lights and colors from their bodies, a sign of deep respect. After the summit, Mina returned to Earth. She visited her old hometown, walking slowly through familiar streets. People stopped and greeted her warmly. She thought about her journey, from a quiet woman sitting in the back of a Harvard lecture hall to a respected teacher of peace across the stars. One evening, sitting under the sky, Mina spoke to Ramai and, "Lena, I am proud," she said softly. "Not of what I did alone, but of what we all can do together." Rami smiled. "You showed us that humans are stronger than we think." Lena added, "You taught us to see the power in kindness." Mina looked up at the stars. "Yes, and that is the true legacy of humanity." Years later, Mina's lessons continued to spread. Schools on Earth and beyond included her teachings. The Mina initiative grew into a galaxy-wide movement, and somewhere, in a quiet room filled with books and memories, Mina sat peacefully. She knew the future was bright, because it was built not just on science or force, but on the simple, quiet power of understanding. Word spread quickly across the galaxy after Mina's talk at Harvard. Her name appeared on news channels, school networks, and interstellar forums. But it wasn't just humans who were talking about her now. Aliens were listening too, especially the Zorak Unity. They remembered her. Not from books or files, but from memory. From the day she sat alone in a room full of Zorak warlords and made them choose peace over destruction. The tall Zorak ambassador who had watched her speak at Harvard was named Torvak Sen, a respected elder and former war general. Many years ago, he had been present at that very meeting where Mina had stood in front of them with just a set of numbers and calm eyes. Now, he wanted to speak again, this time not in private, but in front of the students, professors, and everyone else who had once doubted her. 2 days after Mina's lecture, the university arranged a special assembly in the same grand hall. The walls were decorated with banners of peace, and a large translation orb was placed on the main stage. People from other schools joined through live stream. Even alien students attended in person, some wearing traditional garments from their home planets. At the center of it all stood Torvak Sen. His long claws rested at his sides. His body armor shimmered with gold marks, each one representing battles fought and victories won. But today, he did not speak of war. He looked across the room. His eyes paused when they reached Mina, who sat quietly in the front row. He tapped the orb and began. "I was once a commander of ships," he said. "I destroyed many. I protected my people with fire and logic. And when Earth came into our space, I believed it was another enemy." Students listened closely. We prepared to attack. Our war council gave orders to remove all human colonies in Sector 8. Then, something strange happened. One ship appeared near our fleet. It was not armed. It carried no soldiers. He looked at Mina again. It carried her. A soft wave of surprise ran through the audience. She did not come with weapons. She came with symbols, patterns. She used a form of math we believed only our own could understand. That caught our attention. But what stopped our weapons was not the math. He paused. It was her eyes. The room was silent. She looked at us like we were not monsters. Like we were people. She respected our ways. She did not fear our language. She had studied it, and even improved it in ways we did not expect. The ambassador touched his chest, where his armor showed a broken symbol. She challenged me directly in a logic match. According to our tradition, if a visitor wins such a match, they are honored. I had never lost one in my life. Until that day. Gasps filled the room. I was angry, embarrassed. I wanted revenge, but she did not celebrate. She bowed her head, gave me back my own symbol, and said, "You are strong. Now we can both stop losing." His voice became softer, more thoughtful. We had never heard that before. We only knew strength through battle. She showed us strength through understanding. He looked at the students now. You see her as old, slow, gentle, but in our eyes she is fire wrapped in silence. We call her ... He said something in his native tongue, a long and melodic phrase, which means the flame who chose to warm, not burn. Many students began taking notes. Others looked at Mina with new respect. Torvak continued. I watched today's professor try to shame her. I watched her answer with calm and wisdom. That is not weakness, that is mastery. He turned to Professor Greven, who stood in the back. The professor met his gaze but said nothing. Torvak nodded once. Even now she teaches better than most of your scholars. Then he turned to Mina once more. Our people have written your name into our history songs. We have built a school of understanding in your honor on our home world. And today I bring this. He pulled a small object from his belt. It looked like a round stone, glowing with soft green light. He placed it on the table in front of Mina. This is a Zorik peace stone, he said. We give it only to those who end wars without death. You are the only human to receive it. Mina looked at the stone, her hands still. Then she slowly picked it up, held it close to her heart, and nodded. Thank you, she whispered. After the speech, the room stood in applause. Not just for Torvak, but for Mina. Students rushed to meet her. Teachers who once ignored her now wanted to learn from her. Alien guests recorded everything, planning to send the message back to their own worlds. Outside the hall, Professor Greven waited by the steps. He watched as people celebrated Mina. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. But after a while, he turned and quietly walked away. Mina noticed, but she didn't follow. She knew he needed time. Instead, she walked with Ramai and Lena to the university. Garden. That was amazing, Lena said. I've never seen anything like it. You deserve every honor, Mina, Ramai said. The galaxy knows now, Mina smiled gently. Let them know. But let them also learn. This is not about me. It's about how we move forward. She looked up at the stars.